Welcome to the first in what I hope to be a series of video lessons on the foundations of Latin language. My name is Honor and I am by no means a master of Latin, but I am very passionate about the language and very passionate about everyone's opportunity to learn it. And I hope that at the end of this, even the most beginner of you will come away with at least a basic understanding of Latin grammar. Now, not only am I new to education videos, I'm also very new to recording videos in general. So please excuse the poor mic quality and the fact that I'm kind of stopping and starting. I'm very new to this. Anyway, in this first video, I'll talk about cases. In languages, cases are the way we categorize different words according to their functions within a sentence and their relationship with other words within that sentence. Depending on the case, the structure of a word can change completely. Now, in English, cases aren't really something we have to think about, because as the language has evolved, we don't really use them anymore except in specific circumstances. But cases are a very important part of many languages, including Latin. In Latin, we have 6 main cases: nominative, accusative, dative, genitive, ablative, and vocative. These 6 categories play their own distinct roles, and understanding them is the first step to understanding Latin. Now, there's also kind of a 7th case called the locative, but we'll talk about that much later. In this video, I'm going to touch on the nominative and accusative cases, what roles they play, and how they present themselves in Latin. In later videos, I'll go deeper into the other cases and how they work, but for now, let's just stick with the first 2. First, we have the nominative case, the case for the subject of a sentence. And in this context, subject just means the person or people doing the action. For instance, in the sentence, John pet the dog, we can identify John as the nominative, because John is the one doing the action. Now, if we have a subject, we have to have an object, that is, whatever the subject is acting upon. Words that fall into this category are in the accusative case. In the sentence, John pet the dog, we can identify the dog as the accusative, as it is the object John is petting. Nominatives and accusatives, or subjects and objects, are one of the only examples where cases still apply in English. For instance, compare the sentences, I hit John and John hits me. We can see here that I and me both refer to the same person, but the word we use for them changes depending on whether they're the object of the sentence or the subject. That's because it's changed case. But that's enough English for a Latin lesson. Let's look at how it works in Latin. But before we look at how cases change a word in Latin, we need to look at something called declensions. Declensions are another way words are categorized in Latin. We have 3 main declensions: first declension, second declension, and third declension. The first declension covers words that end in a, such as puella, ancilla, femina, or silva. Names like Augusta, Claudia, and Pompeia also go into the first declension. The second declension covers words that end in us, such as Deus, Servus, Dominus, or Hortus. Names like Marcus, Julius, or Brutus would go into the second declension. The third declension is kind of like a catch-all. It covers words that don't fall into any of the other declensions. So words like mercator, princeps, rex, and pars would all go into the third declension, and a name like Nero would too. See, they all have different endings because the third declension doesn't really have an ending for the nominative singular, which is what all of these words are in. Now, there are 2 lesser used declensions, the 4th and the 5th, but we'll save those for a later video. For now, all you need to know is these 3. So, now we know the declensions, how do we change the nouns based on their case? Well, let's start with the first declension, with the noun puella, or girl. Now, puella is already in the nominative, so the ending is just a, as we've already talked about. In the accusative, it would take am, so puella becomes puellam. But that's only if we're talking about one girl. What if we want to talk about multiple? Well, for the plural nominative, it takes the ending ae, so puella becomes puellae. And in the plural accusative, it takes the ending as, so puella becomes puellas. So let's look at this sentence. Puellam femina laudat. Based on the ending, we can surmise that puellam is in the accusative because it has the am ending, and femina is in the nominative because it has the a ending. So now that we know that puellam, the girl, is the object, and femina, the woman, is the subject, we can translate it as the woman praises the girl. And that's the first declension done. Now, with the second declension, we'll look at it with the noun servus, or slave. Again, servus already in the nominative, so it stays the same. Singular accusative, second declension nouns take the ending I, so servus would become servi. Plural nominative, second declension words would take the ending um, so servus becomes servum. And plural accusative, second declension nouns take the ending os, so servus would become servos. In this sentence, Dominus servos laudat, we can identify Dominus as being in the singular nominative and servos being in the plural accusative, so we can translate it as the master praises the slaves. Alright, finally, we're going to look at the third declension using the word mercator or merchant. Again, mercator already in the nominative, so whatever the ending was, it would stay the same. Again, a third declension noun can have a whole host of different endings, but whatever it is, it's the same. In the singular accusative, all third declension nouns end in em, so mercator becomes mercatorem. The plural nominative, it takes the ending es, so mercator becomes mercatores, and the plural accusative third declension nouns again take the ending es, mercator becomes mercatores. Now, since third declensions can have a whole host of different endings in their singular nominative, let's look at another example. We'll look at rex or king. So rex in the singular accusative takes the ending em, so rex becomes regem. Plural nominative es, so rex becomes reges. And plural accusative es again, so rex becomes reges. Now, you might be wondering, but if the plural accusative and the plural nominative have the same ending, how do you tell them apart? Well, you can't. Not by looking at the word alone, at least. To tell which one it is, you'll have to look at the wider context of the sentence and the conjugation of the verb. But conjugations are for a later date and a later video. For now, that's the third declension done. And with the third declension done, that's all the declensions done. So now you know how to identify a noun as a nominative or an accusative. So have a go at these sentences and enjoy knowing that you've finished the first critical step to mastering the Latin language.